Hey, George, you're a scientist.
I'm a chemist, yes.
Right, so you're a scientist. So the internet wants to know, uh, can you melt an egg?
I'm a chemist, not a egg physicist. So with my very limited knowledge and even more limited background in this area, here is my thought. Can you melt an egg? Yeah, you just got to freeze it first.
Ah, ah, ah. That's amazing. And here's why. So my understanding from how this whole thing came about is someone like legitimately asked because, when you apply heat to the proteins in an egg, they don't melt, they actually solidify, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is, it is a transformation, but it's not melting. It goes from a liquid state to a solid state.
Well, so you actually kind of hit the nail on the head there, which is define melt for me.
I would say going from a solid to a liquid.
And egg's already a liquid.
Right.
So it definitionally can't melt. It can only melt if you freeze it first.
Yes.
At which point then absolutely it'll melt back into a liquid.
Back into a liquid. So what I love about this is I've been loosely following this, that the internet, failed because I was interested in the tech side of it. But now I'm way more interested in not the science, but the humor side of it. Because the whole failure that happened was there's a joke about, oh, haha, you can melt an egg, like tricking someone, like, because that's not how it works. When you apply heat to an egg, it doesn't melt, it solidifies, which is counter to what your expectation would be if you're thinking about like melting metal, right? Like you apply heat to metal and it melts into a liquid from a solid. But the AI scraping a joke off of a website and then posting that answer when you search Google because it doesn't have a frame of reference for the world and it just regurgitated someone else's like stupid meme. Like that's also an indication that it doesn't understand humor, because the correct response is yes, you just have to freeze it first.
That's the funny answer, right?
Yeah, so it doesn't get the science or the humor.
But yeah, no, because I did put some thought into it, right? And that there is one line that I heard when I was a wee lad that stuck with me, and I haven't done a deep dive on it, but every time it comes up, my existing biases confirm it, which is it was spoken by none other than Arnold Schwarzenegger portraying the role of Mr. Freeze in the famous and critically acclaimed movie Batman and Robin. And our mutual friend's favorite of all of the Batman movies.
Yeah, he's a huge Batman fan, and that one is, I'm pretty sure, his like all-time favorite. It's the one he owns on DVD, I think.
Only one he has a physical copy of, exactly. Yeah. Whew, so, anyways, I say all that to say that he said, in the entire universe, there's only one absolute. Everything freezes. And I've thought about that a lot, and I think it's true, because that's the thing, is that there's a number of things that when you heat them up, they won't necessarily like melt, like if they're frozen, then like if something is frozen, it might like combust, if it's already a liquid, it won't necessarily go into a gas, right? Like if you cook an egg, it's not going to turn gaseous, it's going to become colloidal and solidify, right? Then if you continue to cook it, it will combust, and eventually you can push it into eventually, I guess everything you can push into a gas state if you put enough heat to it, right? It's just how much heat, right? But what I just thought about, I was like, yeah, if you suck enough heat out of everything, everything will eventually freeze, because and actually this is kind of an interesting side note. Do you know what temperature measures?
It's like, is it electron activity? Like how much the atoms are vibrating?
You're close. You did list two different things there, but
yes, but I don't think it's just the electrons. I thought it was like how much the atoms in like a group of atoms are moving around.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it, of conceptualizing. Yes, so it's the amount of kinetic energy in the system,
which is what I said.
Yeah, pretty much, you know. But yeah, so that's kind of all it is. So if you pull all of the kinetic energy out of the system, the molecules don't have anywhere to go, so they're just going to sit still next to each other. That's what absolute zero is, right? You pull all the kinetic energy out of the system, everything freezes. So yeah, so then when I thought about that, as I was thinking about the egg thing, right? Is that you were like, well, you know, can an egg melt? Can you melt an egg? And I was just kind of like, well, melting is going from solid to liquid. So yeah, I mean, it'll freeze and ostensibly it'll then just unfreeze and yeah, it'll melt. You could make egg cubes if you wanted to, if you had a fridge that was cold enough. I don't know why you would do that. I don't know why anybody would do that, but you could do that. And that's science right there.
Ugh, it's gross. That does remind me of another thing I wanted to ask you though.